In 2017, the president of Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari, goes to London for some undisclosed medical treatment. He's gone for months. Nobody knows what's wrong with him, and while he's gone, a separatist leader goes on YouTube and says, "Hey, the president is dead. The man you're about to see come home is not Buhari. His name is Jubril, and he's from Sudan."
This isn't some fringe video that 12 people saw. This becomes the political conversation in Nigeria. Hundreds of thousands of tweets. Opposition politicians pick it up and run with it. People are comparing ear shapes, analyzing his handwriting, saying his spoken language sounds different. A Nigerian diplomat gets murdered in Sudan, totally unrelated, and it gets folded into the conspiracy as a cover-up.
Buhari has to stand up at a press conference in Poland in 2018 and literally say, quote, "It's the real me, I assure you." His office sends out a press release titled, and I'm not making this up, quote, "It's real me. President Buhari responds to cloning allegation."
Oh, God. A group of researchers out of Wits University, Cambridge, and University of Helsinki studied this. They collected over 229,000 tweets about the Buhari clone theory. And their conclusion wasn't these people are stupid. Their conclusion was this conspiracy did something to Nigeria's politics. It absorbed all of this political energy, real anger about corruption, about a president who was clearly unwell, about ethnic marginalization, and a civil war that preceded these events. And it converted that energy into a debate about whether the guy on TV had the right earlobes.
Borrowing from political philosopher Achille Mbembe, these researchers called it, quote, zombification, the idea that absurd spectacle stymies meaningful critique and political change. And that's what today's episode is about. Not just who's been cloned, although don't worry, we're going to get through some of the fun ones, but instead we're going to ask, what does it mean that this is how we spend our attention? What does it do to us when the whole internet stops to measure Jim Carrey's jawline? What happens when we not only watch what people do with conspiracy theories, but what those theories do to the people that wield them? Welcome to Kill the Computer. How you doing, June?
Oh, I'm chilling. I had my morning bagel. I had everything bagel before we were recording.
Bagels today.
It's sort of the weekend is for everything bagels is what I'm learning. So I'm chilling. I'm having a great day. How about you? How are you doing?
Pretty good. You know, we just did that episode with MLYP. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Also had an everything bagel, and I'm drinking a Coke Zero right now. A little bit of a early afternoon caffeine boost. I got Pokemon Pokopia, dude.
Dude, okay.
It's so good. It's so good. Must buy immediately.
The propaganda's working. This is the first time in the last maybe 4 years a video game has actually convinced me to purchase it. This is I cannot remember the last time I have been like, I need this video game. I'm considering buying a Switch 2 to also just get that, especially because there's like some other games on it. But no, the game sounds dope as hell. I'm glad to hear that it's not a single person has shit on this game at all. So you might have just pushed me over the edge here.
So I'm the same way. I'll just say this, not to use our precious time as a Nintendo ad, but I'm the same way. It's like once every 4-ish something years, whatever, once every couple years, there's like a game that I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, you know what I mean? The last one for me, I think was Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah,
I actually upgraded because I played it and I was like, this game looks awesome, but my laptop couldn't handle it. So I actually upgraded my laptop to play it. And
oh, hell yeah.
I actually did upgrade to a Switch 2 to play this, and I have been rewarded. It's awesome. It does live up to the hype, I fear. So
it's one of those things where Pokemon has long been one of my favorite game series of all time. I've sort of been out of it. This is the longest I've been out of Pokemon in terms of just like not playing it every year, at least a little bit. It's been like 3 years since I've played a Pokemon game, and that's a long time for me. I've been playing Pokemon games since I was out of the fucking cradle. Like literally, I'm not even joking. Like seriously, I could probably play Pokemon before I could walk.
Scarlet and Violet did kind of suck. I mean, well, I liked them, but the graphics were terrible.
Yeah.
This more than makes up for that. That's all I'll say.
Fuck yeah. Well, I might after this, I already looked before we started recording. I looked every location that sells video games, and it's not in stock anywhere because I like physical releases. So I have to wait until they restock it literally everywhere around me. So it's going to be a couple of days.
Worth the wait. Maddie and I are both playing it, so maybe the three of us can play the multiplayer when we do our next Lost episode.
There's multiplayer,
dude.
Oh,
dude.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Next time we talk, I might have it.
Okay. Okay. We're talking about. I mean, what really brought this on kind of was like the Jim Carrey thing that happened. And if we'll talk about it more towards the end of the episode. If you don't know what happened, essentially Jim Carrey came out at an award show and he looked, I don't know, a little crazy. I mean, he definitely had some work done. But the reaction to that was so bizarre. Everybody was just certain this is not Jim Carrey, to a level that like was frightening to me. Not frightening, but like concerning. It was like, oh shit. Like people at my job were talking about it. Like, did you see? Because in the wake of Epstein files and war and everything, everyone's like, there's trust in institutions is kind of at an all-time low. Like people's brains, I think, have been cooked enough that like instead of just freaks on Twitter, like just normal people, regular people in society are like talking about this openly and like no longer ashamed. You know what I mean? Because I think like the era of being too online, or the idea of somebody that's like online and somebody who's not online is like done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was gonna say that. I feel like a mistake a lot of people make these days in a post-COVID lockdown era is that there is a distinction between people who are too online and not. And like because of the lockdowns, everyone sort of became online, and there's more people online now than in the entire history of the internet, just globally too, of course. So you also have to factor that is more access all across the world. There is just so many people online to engage in these theories and blow them up even more. So when people are like, oh, Twitter is not real life, it's like, I mean, Twitter might not be, but like social media just kind of is. Like, everyone uses it.
It's just strange to me that like we're in this place now that people just openly discuss. Like I had a conversation at work with somebody. It was just like, oh yeah, like I actually do believe in like the Epstein cannibal stuff. And I had to like hold myself back to be like, all I said was like, if we'd had this conversation even a year ago, people would think we were psychotic. But
yeah. It's just a different world. Different
world. Jim Carrey stuff comes out and it's like this huge thing. I actually had been workshopping this episode. I think we talked about it a few weeks even before the Jim Carrey thing happened, June. Because it's not, I mean, we're going to get into a little bit more of like not just the Jim Carrey thing, and like it's going to get into some other areas of like missing people, clones, transvestigations, this kind of conspiracy. I think are all mutations of the same phenomenon. Before we get into that, I think there is a pretty good summary article that was in the Hollywood Reporter, June, if you want to pull that up.
Yes, I have it. It's called "Why is the Internet Obsessed with Celebrity Clone Conspiracy Theories?" This is by Carly Thomas. And before I even read, I mean, ever since I was in high school, I was a teen, I have heard of celebrity clone theories. The one that I think we've talked about on this show before, was the Andrew WK one. Like,
yes,
that was the one I was in high school and I heard. That was like over 15 years ago at this point that I've heard about celebrity cloning. This has like been a long time internet conspiracy thing that's sort of blowing up to a wider audience. It's not just like weirdos online, like weirdo high schoolers online like me back in the day. It's like everyone like knows about potential clones.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a second too, where there's kind of the genesis and stuff like that. But the Andrew WK one was so fun because I had met Andrew WK when he was like, I mean, I was not even 18 yet. I was a kid, and I went to one of his shows. I met him, and he was super nice. I fell in love with the atmosphere. That was actually one of the more, I mean, it's silly meme music, but like the atmosphere and like the fact that guy and his band stayed until every kid left. He was like signing autographs and hanging out. Was like, wow, like that was so formative. Yeah. So that was kind of like my like quest to like find out if this is true. Obviously I didn't think it was, but like, let's get to the bottom of this Andrew WK thing, because he was like my friend. You know what I mean? And I also really wanted to have him on the show because Alex Goldman, if you missed that episode, Alex Goldman knows Andrew WK. They like weirdly they grew up together or something. So
they were in a band together at one point.
Yeah, like a long time ago. So we were trying to get him on, but I think Alex didn't want to like call in that favor because I was, you know, fair play to Alex. He didn't want to call in a favor because I was like, please, 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 please. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, that was a classic one, a classic theory. But I'll read from this article. The internet coming up with outrageous conspiracy theories is nothing new, but accusing celebrities of being cloned is undoubtedly a whole new level. Most recently, Jim Carrey, much to his dismay, has been at the center of the eye-rolling conversation, all because fans were convinced the Dumb and Dumber actor had been replaced by a clone due to his appearance at the Caesar Awards in Paris, where he was being honored. It's important to note that these theories are baseless and have no evidence supporting them, but when has that ever stopped the internet from running with it? If your answer was never, you'd be correct. The theories stemmed from fans online claiming the actor's face looked different in clips coming out of the Caesar Awards, and then a decade-old clip of Carrey on Late Night with David Letterman, where he said he uses decoys to fool paparazzi, resurfaced, only adding fuel to the fire. Caesar Awards organizers quickly shut down the rumors on Monday, with the general delegate of the Caesar Awards, Gregory Collier, saying in a statement, Jim Carrey's visit has been planned since this summer. He also called the theories a non-issue, adding, I just remember his generosity, his kindness, his benevolence, his elegance. For an additional layer of confirmation, the actor's personal rep also told TMZ Jim Carrey attended the Caesar Awards, where he accepted his honorary Caesar Award. But Carrey isn't the first celebrity to find themselves dragged into the commotion. Pop punk artist Avril Lavigne has been battling clone conspiracy theories for years. Fans claim that Lavigne was replaced by a lookalike named Melissa Vandella after dying more than 20 years ago. While there's no legitimate proof for this theory, the rumor reportedly ignited in 2011 because of a Brazilian fan page called Avril Está Morta. Avril is dead, alleging that Vandella was hired at the height of Lavigne's fame to distract photographers, but ultimately replaced the complicated singer following her death. Lavigne is very much alive, and she actually laughs at the rumors, telling Alex Cooper on her Call Her Daddy podcast in 2024. It's just funny to me. Like, on one end, everyone's like, you look the exact same. You haven't aged a day. But then other people are like, there's a conspiracy theory that I'm not me. While the Skater Boys singer called the theories so dumb, because obviously I am me, she also said things could be worse. I feel like I got a good one. She added, I don't think it's like negative. It's nothing creepy. That may be Lavigne's perspective, but for other stars like Selena Gomez, the conspiracy theories can derive from something much more personal and sensitive. Some fans have alleged that the Lose You to Love Me singer was replaced with a body double to maintain her brand after she underwent a kidney transplant in 2017 due to lupus and died after complications. Gomez did undergo a kidney transplant, but is very much alive and currently married to Benny Blanco. People have cited a perceived change in appearance and mannerisms in recent years to try and back up their claims. Unfortunately, social media trolls commenting on a woman's body, especially someone in the spotlight like Gomez, is nothing new, as women constantly have unrealistic expectations placed on them. But all the online discourse surrounding celebrity clones also begs the question, why are people so obsessed with conspiracy theories to begin with? According to research published by the American Psychological Association in 2023, people can be prone to believe in conspiracy theories due to a combination of personality traits and motivations, including relying strongly on their intuition, feeling a sense of antagonism and superiority toward others, and perceiving threats in their environment. Shauna Bose, a clinical psychologist and the lead author on that study, also wrote, conspiracy theories are not all likely to be simple-minded, mentally unwell folks, a portrait which is routinely painted in popular culture. Instead, many turn to conspiracy theories to fulfill deprived motivational needs and make sense of distress and impairment. At the end of the day, people are going to believe what they want to believe. But remember, you probably shouldn't trust just anything you read on the internet, especially without credible evidence.
Yeah, and that last part is kind of the through line, I think, right? There's the paper that we talked about in the intro to this episode. It's called Clones and Zombies, and it's not terribly long. It's about 20 pages. You can probably get the gist of it in less than that. But if you're curious, I do think it's well worth the read. And it talks about kind of, I mean, that specific one was talking about Nigeria, right? And how like academics in the West have like a sort of like colonial attitude towards conspiracy theories. And that framework isn't perfect for America, of course, but it does kind of fit that we have this propensity to like, well, conspiracy theories are worth debunking and that's about it. And then the people that believe them are just like dum-dums that we have to like disprove, as opposed to like, it's like wiping away mold, but not thinking about what causes mold.
Yeah, what's underneath
right?
that?
Yeah, what's going on here, right? So like, and that's true. I think not just academia, but in maybe just
I mean, especially because it's like I mean, we've seen this specifically on Twitter play out most recently, where it's like a lot of social media and even legacy media are taking away access to credible information, paywall credible information,
Yeah.
or like specifically in Twitter's case, encourage misinformation, encourages not trusting established information
quite
resources.
literally incentivizing it, right? In the case of Twitter. And
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like we're sort of in a world right now where stuff like that is incentivized. Lying to people is incentivized, and it goes due to algorithms. It will just pop off because half of the people know it's a joke. Half of the people seeing it will just believe it then.
But like in modern history, the first like really big one that everybody thinks of is probably Paul is Dead. Now, the story of that is, if you don't know, Paul McCartney in 1966 he apparently died in a car crash on the way home from EMI Studios. He was ostensibly replaced by William Shears Campbell, who was the clues for this, ostensibly, if you believe in this theory, are all through.
I do believe this one, for the record. Yeah.
Remember, we're just taking everything at face value now. That's the move in 2026.
Yeah.
But like on the Abbey Road cover, you have kind of how they're dressed with no shoes. John's all in white as supposedly the clergyman. Ringo's in the back, wearing black as the mourner. George is a gravedigger because he's wearing jeans, I guess, or looks kind of like whatever. And then Paul is barefoot, and I guess that has to do with the fact that he's dead somehow. I don't really quite understand that. But
yeah.
if you play Revolution 9 backwards, you can, backmasking and all that stuff. You can hear Turn Me On, Dead Man. Strawberry Fields Forever backwards contains what sounds like I Buried Paul. I mean, there's a million of these, right? If you follow this, it's very fun. It's been the subject of a number of documentaries.
Yeah, no, genuinely fascinating. Like, obviously not real, but a fascinating part of this record, yeah.
Yeah. So this started, it's interesting because in the internet, it's pretty obvious. Like we've talked about this, kind of the underlying thesis of the show almost at this point is how this stuff spreads and works. But before the internet, there is a guy named Tim Harper who publishes Is Beatle Paul McCartney Dead? In a Drake University student paper in Iowa. That's the whole thing. That's where Paul McCartney death rumors started. Was
really
a student paper in Iowa. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So after this paper, a guy calls into a Detroit radio station and says, "Hey, play Revolution 9 backwards on air." And because if you've never heard backmasking, it's very creepy sounding. And back then we were, I think, even more. Well, maybe not more. But people were very susceptible to like moral panics and the spooky stuff. You hear that backwards, it's like, oh shit, what is this, right? It's like
people, if I remember correctly, it was like, oh, it's satanic. People have always thought it's like part of the satanic panic, all that sort of thing.
It really did tie into it, and God, I wish I could find it. There was one of the funniest websites I ever found when I was literally a child was called Evil Beatles. It was like a GeoCities website or something.
Yeah,
and that was like that was like the thing that got me into conspiracy theories because how funny it was. It was like Evil Beatles and how like they were satanic and this is my I'd never because like the Beatles are like very funny. I'd never heard of this before, and I'm like a 16-year-old like this is hilarious, right? And how like there's the Tavistock thing and how I mean, the North Star to every like psychotic Christo-fascist conspiracy theory is that the Frankfurt School's involved because they're Jews. But the idea was like Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer, two philosophers from the Frankfurt School, had like secretly written all the Beatles songs to, like subvert the white man. You know what I mean?
No way. This was on
never
that
heard that
website.
before?
No, I've never heard
awesome.
this. I apparently
Dude.
don't know any Beatles theories. Oh my god.
I hate to bring his name up on this show, but like the Cybersmith and I debated that at one point. I was
Really?
like, are you fucking kidding me?
Did he believe in it?
Yeah, he believes everything. Yeah, he believes
Oh,
all. He's like
he
a
believes.
conspiracy theory pluralist. Yeah.
They all fit together in the same world. I love it.
Well, what I was trying
respect
to like
that.
explain to him in that conversation, which I don't recommend listening to. It's not worth it. I don't really regret it, but it's just not something I look back on fondly. Is that like I tried to ask him, and you can ask this to any conspiracy theory. Like, have you ever like read what's in the Frankfurt School?
No.
All the stuff that they talk about is like it has nothing to do with the Beatles. The only time, well, they do talk about like the culture and street music and stuff, but like Theodor Adorno, like famously was like a crank who hated all forms of popular music. It's so funny. Like he wrote like essays about how he hated jazz. Now at the time, jazz didn't necessarily mean like American jazz. He gets called racist for that, but what he was talking about was like European big band swing music, not necessarily like American jazz trio with improvisation and stuff like that. So
Yeah, sort of like a big brass section, sort of like dance floor type stuff.
yeah, he just kind of thought it was like repetitive and dumb, and that's what he was writing about. But in any case, it's just like very funny to like have this conspiracy theory that like, well, he's a Jewish guy talking about communism, so he's very clearly trying to subvert the West, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, he's like, I fucking hate jazz music. It's just like, dude, just read it. I'm begging you. But anyway, there's like that whole conspiracy theory that like this crank guy who hates popular music would be the one to like
Write the Beatles songs, the
write
entire
the Beatles.
discography. Yeah,
Yeah.
over that decade. Holy shit.
as
That's
a
so
Jewish
funny.
plot. And also, he was like a shitty old man. Like he was not like you know what I mean. Like I'm saying this with love because I am preparing to gracefully enter a new stage of my life as an old man. You know what I mean? It's something I have to think about. I cannot imagine writing music like that. You know what I mean? It's like as I get older, like this like kind of stuffy philosopher type guy who wears suits and is reading and writing, chain smoking, crank kind of guy or whatever. It's just very funny to imagine that that's the guy who's like writing Strawberry Fields Forever. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one thing that everyone does in their latter half of their music career is, as I feel like musicians evolve, they change over time. You can see that with the Beatles specifically, their early stuff compared to some of their later stuff is just a lot like thematically different from some of their early stuff. And that was a really short time span. That was less than a decade that they had that sort of evolution.
Even in that decade, you go from that kind of sort of like crude, naive optimism to like very almost stoicism in some of their later stuff like that. So it's like very funny to imagine like I don't know how old Adorno was at this time, but he would have been, 20 years older than me at least, so it's just like funny to think that that's what the conspiracy theorists believe. But anyway,
I was going to say one last thing on this is, so this paper, the Is Beatle Paul McCartney Dead, was this like a research paper? Was this a newspaper, like a student newspaper
newspaper? The newspaper.
It was just in the newspaper.
Yeah.
What did it talk about in that? Like, what was why was it published? What was the point of that piece?
So
does anyone know?
I didn't get a chance to read a copy of it. I couldn't find it, but what I did find was essentially it was like the Billy Shears stuff.
So it was like it sort of did pitch the conspiracy theory. It wasn't like a satirical like piece. It was like an actual guy who actually sort of believed this thing.
No, it was a true believer for sure. It was the Billy Shears stuff, and it was also like the backmasking. Like if you play this backwards, you'll hear this stuff, and that's why the guy called the Detroit radio station was like, check this shit out.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the whole thing got started. It was just some guy, which is very funny to be the crank that creates like this famous conspiracy like before the internet. Like you have to be a fucking freak for that. So
very well done. Very well done to this guy.
We don't really need to talk too much about Paul is dead. I think that's been so thoroughly covered by people who are credentialed and blah blah blah. If you don't know it, there's a really good BBC documentary about it. There's wasn't it was an iHeart show, Stuff That I Want You to Know, did a really good series on it. I think it was them. I mean, it's been covered to death. We don't need to talk about that, but I just wanted to bring that up because that is like the blueprint through every conspiracy theory after this is a poor facsimile of Paul is dead, right?
Yeah. What was that movie? Do you remember that movie where the guy like teleports to a different world and no one knows what the Beatles is?
Oh,
you ever
yeah,
watched
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah. What if in this world Paul was dead because Lennon was alive in that timeline at the end of the movie? He meets John Lennon, but Paul's dead in that timeline. That's the movie I want to see.
It could be. I actually didn't see that.
Not a great movie.
Yeah.
but Lennon is alive in that film, which is amazing.
I think anybody who loves music has to go through a Beatles phase. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I had one. Yeah.
I think everybody does, or if you're a musician, or if you just really like music.
Beatles are great. I love Beatles. I love the Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I'm at this point now where I'm like a post Beatles phase, where it's like I understand, I get it, it is great. I was obsessed with it when I was much younger, and now I'm just like I just don't give a shit about the Beatles anymore. You know what I mean?
I have not listened to the Beatles more than one song in a shuffle playlist in like 2 years, probably.
Yeah, it's been close to a decade for me, probably. If it's on, it's good. And actually, you know, my favorite Beatles song is a cover of "The Long and Winding Road" by Ray Charles with Count Basie's big band. Have you ever heard that?
Oh no, I haven't. No.
Beautiful, just a fucking masterpiece.
I'll check it out.
That song is also very good. But listen to that sometime. We'll talk about that maybe on the mailbag episode. Anyway, kind of back to reality here. The next one that I wanted to talk about is Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane, and I put the photo in there, June, if you scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
So his deal, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because he takes a different, a different approach to how to deal with it. We read about Selena Gomez and Avril Lavigne are just like, okay, this is like, maybe it's harmful or maybe I don't care about it or this or that. And some people use these things as like political weapons. Well, Gucci Mane, here's his thing. He goes to prison and he loses at least 50 pounds. I mean, he's a bit of a big back, and he goes into prison, and then he comes out shredded, and so the thing is, like, he just got sober and started eating healthy and stuff when he was in
Probably
jail.
worked out. I mean, that's like one of the two things you can do in jail is like exercise.
Yeah. So he comes out of it or whatever, and like people's parasocial relationship with him, who he was to them, and kind of the lexicon of popular culture is he's kind of this bigger guy or whatever. He comes out looking different. So what do? They say he's a clone. And,
of course, obviously.
Yeah, and he takes us in a different direction that I thought was interesting. He starts like using it in his music. You know what I mean? He's like starts like I'm clone. Like he thinks it's kind of funny, or maybe he's just trying to revitalize his career or whatever. He uses it as a marketing technique. You know what I mean?
No way. I mean, it gets a lot of attention. Is the thing about all of these clone theories, especially in recent years, is people love this shit. They love nothing more than like engaging with this, even if they don't believe it. Right?
Yeah.
Great marketing.
And it just kind of goes to show too that like the conspiracy theory obfuscates the greater truth, which is like, hey, this guy just like started working out and got his life together and got sober. And
yeah, which like great for him. Yeah,
but it's just another one of those things. Obviously, this happens much more to women, as we've discussed, and we're going to continue to discuss in a more serious way in a bit.
Yeah,
happens more to women, but at the end of the day, the body is the battlefield, right?
Right.
The way people talk about bodies when it comes to this stuff is so weird and shitty.
It is. I mean, that's what I've especially noticed recently. And, it's just like the way that everyone is so free to just like be hypercritical of people's appearances is so odd, off-putting. Yeah.
Hang on to that thought, by the way, June, because that's coming back here in a bit. The next one I wanted to kind of talk about, and this is the best and the worst examples, I think, is like the way that first ladies are treated. Again, very, very misogynistic, but the funniest fucking one that the funniest moment I think of Trump's first presidency. You remember when everyone was like, Melania's missing?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. I do. I don't remember like what caused that though. That's been so long. What caused everyone to think that she was gone or missing?
Because she literally was not like making public appearances.
Oh, yeah.
There was the rumors that, like, I mean, yeah, again, this we're verging into conspiracy territory because we don't really know, but like rumor territory was like, you know, she was really unhappy. She wanted a divorce. She never thought Trump was going to win. He never thought he was going to win. Now she's stuck with this oath. You know what I mean? This is whatever,
Yeah.
2 years into to his first term. She's just like, I didn't sign up for this bullshit, blah, blah, blah.
Obviously not true. I think, side note from this entire conversation, but it always bothers me when people, like women married to evil men, are like, oh, they're just victims. It's like, no, they're evil too. Like,
Yeah.
they are fucking also evil.
I think
like,
both things can be true here, where it's like
Yeah.
Melania is complicit, at least at this point, certainly, right?
oh yeah.
Certainly complicit, but also like she probably does fucking hate him, and maybe they were like verging on divorce. You know, we just don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just it, right? Because we had all this like conversation about, well, she's missing him when she comes back. This is a body double. This is that, and that like
Yeah.
like we're taking all this energy into critiquing this woman that should have been leveled at Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just sort of a misfire of what the real problem is. Donald Trump is the president, right?
And he's this awful, awful man.
First ladies, especially Melania, like everything she does is sort of like a Mickey Mouse project. Like none of the things that Melania does like really have any impact or are real. It's like, what was her in the Melania movie? There was that like thing that she was doing, the cyberbullying initiative, and it's
Yeah.
like that's the first time I've heard of that. And this is technically her 5th year into being in the
Yeah.
White House. Yeah.
That's like been her thing, is cyberbullying, which is very ironic. But
Yeah.
okay.
No idea. Had no clue.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull something from a Guardian article that this made me just laugh so fucking hard when this happened. It's from 7 years ago. It's his first term. And last week, when questioned about his wife's health, Donald Trump told reporters, quote, "She's doing great," and pointed up at her window, quote, "Right there, she's doing great, just looking at us, right there." She did not appear to be at the window, intensifying speculation. Do you remember that?
No, I somehow missed
You
that.
didn't remember this? He was like, "Oh, she's there in the window," and like the camera like pans to the window and it's just empty. She's right there, you know. And it was so funny because that was the first moment where I was like, "Oh, dude, like we're in a post-reality
over.
world. Like his supporters will believe this, right?" And they did, and they said, "Yeah, she was in the window." Like they're making up this thing. She was in the window. No, she wasn't, dog. What are you doing? What's happening? That was like the first time, like, gazelle on the Serengeti, deer in danger. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like this is a serious situation. These people are just making this up. But it was just so funny that he was like lying to the reporters, and people ate it up. So
Yeah, like so obviously lied. Literally disproven as he was saying the lie. That's crazy. No, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's a classic Trump moment. You know, I wish it was like just stuff like that and not like lying, because like that's sort of the thing with Trump, of course, is like he lies about everything. He just sort of says things, and a trillion people will just repeat what he says.
Yeah,
and like he's doing that with the war in Iran, with like, oh, the war in Iran, we destroyed their whole navy, and then like the next day is like, we destroyed 20 ships in Iran's navy, but it's almost all destroyed. And then it's like what you just said, it was already all destroyed. Just always lie.
Well, that Navy thing specifically was very funny too, because like some of the boats they're talking about were non-military, and some of them were like, just this like 15-foot like passenger boat. You know, it's like
the one in the civilian boat in the Indian Ocean that he destroyed. Yeah.
Anyway, so as Melania begins to make more public appearances, the clone body double stuff comes into speculation. And just like everyone else is, just like Gucci Mane, just like whatever, we've got, in this case, like Blue Anon style, like, they're doing the Rivellino sort of like, graphics, and they're John Madden X's and O's all over this woman's body. To like, I think it's that thing where it's like the noble lie. I think a lot of these people knew it was her, but they just needed to believe it because it's like a greater truth. It serves a greater truth, in that oh, she's left him because he's a bad man or whatever, right?
Right. And I'm sure at this time, I probably knowingly, of course, didn't believe this was true, but I probably did also make a post or two about this
Yeah.
because it's just also funny.
It's very funny.
It's one of those things that's like, it's so ridiculous to believe. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm posting this because obviously no one really believes this, but that's just not true. A lot of people will believe quite literally anything.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, June. Achille Mbembe, who wrote Necropolitics and is the political philosopher at the center of the paper that we talked about, he has this idea of zombification where, like, the ruling class rules through, like, absurd spectacle, and the people that are being ruled over, in turn, respond with their own absurd spectacles. So, like, in that, like, the case of that Nigerian president, people were sharing it also because it was funny. Some of them, you know, it's like there's ways different people are sharing it for different reasons. There's no monolith. It still contributes to the zombification of the whole thing, right? It still obfuscates from critiques at direct power, and that's not to dog on you because we all do it. I do it, and I'm going to talk about that more
Yeah.
later.
Oh, I dog on myself the amount of times I've done that in the past. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's one of those things, and I don't think there's ever necessarily anything wrong with jester maxing, right? Just as long as you're like aware of like your relationship to the process or whatever. But in any case, that happens. But what also happens in a kind of a through line I wanted to draw with another first lady was Michelle Obama and how they did body double stuff with her. They did the Michael Obama, the transvestigation.
That's the one I remember in particular, the Michael Obama, the transvestigation into her saying where it's like, Obama married. This is a thing that the right seems to levy at a lot of Democratic politicians historically, and it still happens every once in a while where it's like, recently Candace Owens with Macron's wife. These people do this all the time where they accuse some powerful politician's wife of being a trans woman, basically.
Yeah. And, you know, transvestigation, when we first started this show, was like this fringe thing that like 3 people did online. But now it's like...
It's everywhere.
It's kind of not, I wouldn't quite say mainstreamed yet, but like... If I would have said when we started the show transvestigation, I would probably have to elaborate what I meant. Now I don't. Everybody that listens to the show understands what I say when I mean when I say transvestigation. And that's like, you know, it really did like transvestigation. We did that episode with Ivy a long time ago. The history of that goes back pretty far, but like the Michelle Obama one was so like. It was very rooted in like racism and then like transphobia, of course. But like the thing that I wanted to talk about that for is just like, you know, when we said earlier, the body is the battlefield. And the thing that I want to impress upon everybody listening to this is like not necessarily what people do with the conspiracy theories. We've talked about that. Sometimes you laugh at them. Sometimes you use them as...
They're so funny. Oh my God. There's so many transvestigations that make me burst out laughing. Like the one where the person transvestigates Donald Trump.
You do. Maverick does that pretty often. It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of them are funny.
This guy that it's funny. It is.
Some of them are funny. Some of them are.
But the inverse of that is like what the conspiracy theory does to the person wielding it is something to consider too, is because when you like, you know, not saying us as the jester maxers or whatever, but like let's think of like somebody like Maverick, or there's one of my Bevy, horrifying house guest, I think is her at, you know, I've sent you tweets of hers or her friends, yeah. Like the true believers or the people even who I think are grifting off of this, what this does to them, even if you don't believe it, if you're grifting, let's go with that one. Like you are like in your own mind, you're slowly rotting your brain out to make somebody that does not have gender conforming characteristics, whether you're cis or trans, or whether you are, you know, in Michelle's case, a black woman, or even if you're just different looking in general than what society deems as acceptable or something, right? You are making that a person that falls outside of the spectrum of acceptable looks like suspicious or an enemy or whatever. And even if you don't mean for that, even if you're just like, I have Twitter blue and I need to make, rent, and I'm going to do it by transvestigating Donald Trump or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Over time, your own mind and the people that follow you are going to start doing that. It's like a very, when it happens to Jim Carrey or Andrew WK, that's one person, and we'll talk about here in a minute why that's different and bad in its own way. But the blowback in the area, splash damage, we'll call it, I guess, to like various typically marginalized groups of people is very bad, and it's worth considering when we analyze this stuff.
I mean, to look at this more broadly too, with the explosion of transvestigation and the explosion of specifically in the UK, because I think this is where it's like the most naturally happening is like the TERF movement in the UK, and like a lot of transphobia in the United States, of course, too. But like people will post photos of cis people accusing them to be, and not even like in a joking way, they truly believe there's like, oh, there's this quality on your face, the smile, there's some part of your smile that makes you look like a man, even though it's like a cis woman.
Like
thick wrists, shit. Or like your eyes are, I'm sure you've seen this one I see all the time. It's like this this person, not even trans in some cases, but like this person has a dead look in their eye. That's how you know they're trans, because the hormones ruined their brain. And it's like, well, no, first of all, no, that's not how that works. You don't get dead-eyed stares because of a fucking hormone that everyone on Earth has. That's not how that works. But also it's like, it's making everyone hypercritical of everyone and their characteristics in real time. That's why I try to always shy away of making fun of people's appearance, because it's just, first of all, not useful. It's not a really useful thing to criticize someone. The only time I ever do that is if they start sort of with looks critique or whatever. If they open that floodgate, it's like, okay, fine, because like obviously you're already engaging in this, so it's like it's sort of pointless to like hold back in that regard. But also doubly is that like having a certain appearance has no there is no sense of morality around someone's individual appearance. I see this thing all the time where it's like, this person looks beautiful because they're pro-Palestine, and it's like, everyone should be pro-Palestine, but because they're aging well has no bearing on their political positions or vice versa. And I see that mistake always made, where it's like they sort of impose a sort of a heightened level of morality based off of appearance, and that always bothers me too.
It's so quintessentially Western or even American too. I don't know how to draw this through line, but like the neoliberal individualism. We don't live in apartments. We live in houses. We don't, they make us kind of like in our little burger fiefdoms. We're so suspicious of other people because we have no sense of like what different kinds of people look like, or just our how do I say this? Like the amount of people that we interact with is so small that we don't have a sample size big enough to be like, because I just genuinely believe that if you interact with different kinds of people, your prejudices just go away, right?
Absolutely. I mean, to like broaden this out a little bit from what you were just saying, it's like when people would genuinely, unironically, or maybe even in a grifting sense, transvestigate Michelle Obama. It's like they were like, oh, her shoulders are a certain way, that means she's a trans woman, she's a man or whatever. And it's like, okay, but like women just have shoulders like that. Like that's also misogyny. That's also like a lot of this is, especially when it comes to women, is misogyny and like believing in the patriarchal like world around women and what's an acceptable appearance and how women should look, and it's just so like it's so dastardly in a way that like the people engaging with it don't even realize. And of course, like I don't think these people that unironically transvestigate or like engage in clone theory understand the mechanisms below what they're like laying out on people in it, like when they talk about hyper specifics of appearance. But I don't know. It's hard for me to not be like, oh, you're just being misogynistic. You think you're criticizing a trans person, but you're just being insanely misogynistic.
Yeah, I completely, totally agree. Okay, let's talk about the most recent one. Maybe we should have done this first, but I saved it for last for a reason, because it goes into my last little.
Yeah, it just happened to like literally last week.
Yeah. So Jim Carrey goes to the César, I think is that how you pronounce it? Awards. It's like the French Oscars, right?
I have no clue. I probably said it wrong in the intro, and I hope people yell at me
Oh,
about
the
that. 'Cause
French
I
are going to kill us.
Yeah.
Mail it, kill the computer. If you're French or French Canadian specifically, I want to hear from you. Yell at us. So it's like he gets a lifetime achievement award for everything, and so Jim Carrey goes to do this, and he does something that's pretty cool. He delivers his entire speech in French. Probably didn't know that because none of the story was about that. And he talked about like his dad and how his French roots and everything. It was like actually a pretty touching story. And Jim Carrey is famous for not doing this kind of thing, but he did it, and he'd gotten some work done. And I'll admit it. Like I mean, plastic surgery, Jim Carrey does look pretty crazy. Like it's not.
He looks different. He is not. The thing is, Jim Carrey has a very distinctive face. Like part of his personality is how like emotive his face is and how just like interesting his face is. He has a very distinct face. You could pick him out of 1,000 people in a group easily. You could be like, that's Jim Carrey. And he just looks different. I mean, that's just true. That's sort of, the thing is if you get work done, you will look different. I mean, that's sort of like why he did that, I guess. He wanted to like,
and there's like a conversation to be had about like the ethics and efficacy and everything surrounding like plastic surgery on the face and celebrities and stuff like that. I think the quick bit of it that I'm more interested in talking about is just like how we're so unkind and we have such a negative backwards view of aging that like people are doing this kind of thing as opposed to aging naturally. And I suppose if somebody wants to get this work done, it has nothing to do with me. But like this is all to say that this entire thing is overshadowed by what he looks like, and it breaks contagion to the point where this was like a bigger news story than things that should be in the news. You know what I mean? Like various Epstein drops, American aggression, blockading Cuba. Did you guys know what we're doing to Cuba? Because it's really fucking grim. But more
we're
about
starving
Jim Carrey.
them. The U.S. military is starving Cuba currently.
Yeah, we're starving them, and then we're going to start bombing them if they don't overthrow their government when we're done with Iran, apparently. So, like, not great, but we know all about Jim Carrey's plastic surgery, right?
Yeah. But I think one thing I want to say about that also is like off of talking about aging is I think there is so much anxiety in the social media age in a way that I don't think we've ever seen in like at least American society. I of course can't speak to like historic societies, but like in recent society, everyone is so nervous about aging, and it's like that's scary. Getting older is scary. Like being young is very nice. Being youthful, full of life, having a young face is very nice. But like, I feel like people have so much anxiety about the thought of aging, the idea of how you might look when you age, that it not only makes people have these crazy takes about not believing that Jim Carrey is Jim Carrey, but also like, it's also probably why Jim Carrey got some work done. He probably felt a lot of that anxiety, not even like from himself, just societal pressure to look younger, because that is sort of what is being imposed. And the through line of this entire conversation is that like people like have these ideas about aging and like I don't know, a lot of plastic surgery is being pushed to de-age people. And there's discussion of ethics around that and like if we should do that. I will always be pro doing whatever work you want to get done. I think that's awesome. But I feel like there's just so much anxiety that people are projecting out to other people because of how people these days perceive aging and just how outward facing a lot of social media is there that everyone has to have. It's like a panopticon, right? It's a sort of panopticon of appearance.
I am going to assign homework to everybody listening to this. And don't worry, it's fun homework. But I think you should watch Howl's Moving Castle.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
It treats aging in a way that I just don't think is present in most media. And it's very sweet, and I think you should watch it.
I co-sign.
Okay. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about there is as this goes on, there's a drag artist, Alexis Stone, who'd posted on Instagram saying, actually, that was me. Alexis does like prosthetics and makeup and all this stuff. And then Alexis posts a video wearing prosthetics and to look like Jim Carrey. And it's pretty compelling. However, People ran this through like AI image detection software, and it turns out that Alexis was just kind of doing some publicity and goofing.
Wait, that wasn't true?
No, that was just a joke. Because remember, they said, "Oh, well, this is Alexis Stone. It wasn't Jim Carrey. It was like they were both in on this like Andy Kaufman style prank." And it's like, no, that was just a goof.
That's okay, because I saw when this part of this story happened, I saw so many people being like, I bet everyone who thought that was actually Jim Carrey feel really dumb now.
Yeah,
actually, it was this drag queen. I literally, that's the last of this story I saw, is that I saw people like scolding people for thinking it could be Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's the thing though, right? It's like, this stuff is all crazy. So I don't know. This is pretty sad because, Jim Carrey sees all this and he's like kind of probably feeling pretty bad about himself and the way he looks. And just like, he had the speech about his dad, and this takes away from literally a Lifetime Achievement Award that he was given for his career of some very good stuff. And there were criticisms of Jim Carrey's personal beliefs and stuff like that, of course. But still, it's like, that's a pretty crappy thing that had happened. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
That's horrible. I mean, yeah, that's awful, especially to be, being the victim of one of these conspiracies that you're either cloned or you're not real. You're not the real guy. I mean, I can't imagine how that feels. Like if it's not, if it's obvious that it's not just like a playful joke, right?
Totally. Okay. I do have a quick little epilogue that I'm going to end this episode with here in a minute. But before we do that, June, do we have anything we want to plug? Anything going on?
We have, if you're listening to this on the main feed, we have a lot of fun stuff on the Patreon right now. I think we're going to be in a couple of days getting another All This and for $10 episode with MYLP. We just started our Lost bonus series. We'll get about one of those up a month. We're also going to be doing another mailbag episode. So basically, if you're not in our Patreon, we're doing a lot of fun stuff in there. We're doing a lot of extras, a lot of fun extra content if you enjoy hanging out or listening to us talk about different subjects and conversations. So yeah,
we also do have another fun bonus episode that we've been kicking the can on that's coming out this month sometime too. We'll save it, but it's gonna be a little different. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So lots of stuff coming this month. Lots of stuff that we've already done behind the paywall. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please check us out at patreon.com/killthecomputer. And thank you so much.
See ya.
I have a confession for you guys. I've been working on this episode for a few weeks now, even before the Jim Carrey incident, if you can believe it, and I've loved every second of it. Not in a noble way, rather in a disgusting bottom-of-the-brainstem sort of way. It felt good in a way that you know is bad for you, like smoking a cigarette at the bar or scratching a mosquito bite. I've spent, and I clocked this by the way, 9 hours watching transvestigation and clone replacement content this week. 9 goddamn hours. Not because I was researching. I mean, I told myself I was researching, but the research was done after 45 minutes tops. The other 8 hours and 15 minutes were me sitting on my couch, absolutely marinating in the satisfaction of laughing at various freaks and dum-dums on the internet. That's my version of the sickness. That's my zombie bite. Of course, I never thought Jim Carrey was a fucking clone. I've never once looked at a celebrity and thought, yeah, that's not them. That would be ridiculous. In a way, my problem is worse, because at least the clone people are engaged in something that feels generative to them. They're building theories, they're in communities, they're experiencing the thrill of discovery. And what am I doing? I'm watching them do it, and like a humble jester, I am juggling and tumbling for an audience as the world collapses all around us. And I think this is the thing that nobody really wants to cop to. There are 2 ways to waste your life on this bullshit, and the culture only recognizes one of them as bad. If you believe Kanye was replaced by the Illuminati, you're a crank, you're a conspiracy hooplehead, you're a dipshit, you're a cautionary tale about media literacy, you're irrational and your opinion should be discarded in the colonial trend of Western academia. But if you spend the same amount of time mocking the person who believes Kanye was replaced by the Illuminati, well, that's content, baby. That's commentary. That's a podcast. I can build a whole episode around it and people will listen. Then we'll both walk away feeling like we engaged with something important. But nothing will have changed at all. The clone believer is still in their thread and I'm still in mine. We're both looking at the same screenshots of the same famous people's faces. We just have, I don't know, different captions, I guess. That is zombification. I didn't come up with it, remember. Achille Mbembe did, writing about post-colonial politics in Africa. And the researchers of the paper we discussed at the top of this episode reframed that into the critique that would guide this episode. His argument is that the powerful inevitably govern through absurdity, and in response, ordinary people, especially in the lower classes or politically marginalized, respond with their own absurdity. Everybody ends up undead, both sides locked in a loop, going through the motions, robbing each other of vitality. The rulers keep ruling, the mockers keep mocking, the conspiracy theorists, the QAnon threads keep baking. The actual conditions that generated all of it, the opacity, the distrust, the sense that public life is an elaborate performance, those conditions sit exactly where they were, untouched, because everybody's too busy with the puppet show. And while the clone conspiracies don't really seem to be all that harmful in a vacuum, they actually are, because they turn our bodies into a battlefield. This is where we tried to draw the line to the transvestigation argument. What people do with conspiracies, use them as political cudgels or marketing campaigns, or in the case of Gucci Mane memes, whatever, those are one thing. But what do conspiracies do with people? In this case, they make anybody outside the perceived level of normativity suspicious. The very act of being gender nonconforming is viewed as hostile to the wielder. I know I've been rambling, but as I round this out, and since we're already zombies anyway, let me at least try and end this with one thing that really concerns me and possibly leaves you with something to think about. With the Jim Carrey situation, a real person gave a real speech. A drag artist is alleged to have posted AI-generated content claiming to have impersonated him. That image then got debunked by an AI detection tool. So, real event, fake claim, AI fabricated evidence, AI-powered debunking. At no point did a fucking human verify anything through direct experience. It was just machines arguing with other machines about whether or not something was real, and the rest of the people who cared picked sides based on, I guess, political aesthetics or razor-sharp presuppositions. The part that's been keeping me up, and the reason I'm adding this post-episode addendum to begin with, is that the clone theorists' core epistemological claim, the one thing underneath all the ear measuring and the jawline comparisons and the Illuminati bullshit, is this: you cannot trust what you see on a screen. And that claim is about to be inarguably, technically, demonstrably correct. Not because the Illuminati exists, not because anybody got cloned, but because with generative AI, Silicon Valley perverts built the technology that makes paranoia, well, kind of rational. The conspiracy theorists got the right answer for the wrong reasons, which is somehow worse than getting it wrong entirely, because it means there's no clean place to stand anymore. There's no, well, at least we know what's real. We don't. We won't. That's over, and we're hurtling towards a post-truth society with no answer for what that means or what the world will look like when everybody has a semi-rational case to build their own internal epistemological systems. So what do? I have no fucking clue. If there was an answer to this, somebody far smarter than me would have been saying it by now. What I will say is this: every hour you and I spend, and I mean you and I, the skeptics, debunkers, reply guys, the podcast dullards, or content creators, every hour we spend engaged with this content, even oppositionally, even from a place of smug superiority, is an hour we're feeding the same machine. The conspiracy theorists and the person dunking on the conspiracy theorists are the same zombies. We're just shambling in different directions. The actual radical act, and I'm saying this to myself more than you guys, is to close the tab and instead go read something boring but real. True power doesn't lie in drawing an X's and O's John Madden style over the body of the First Lady. It doesn't lie in dunking on the person that does either. It's buried in an SEC filing or a zoning board agenda or the exposed internals of an insurance company's claims denial process. I'm telling you this, by the way, as a certified FOIA pervert. The actual conspiracy theory, the one that's barely hidden at all, the one that's sitting right there in public filings and committee minutes, is so boring and dense that nobody will make a TikTok or a podcast about it. I'll try to do better in remembering this as the show goes on. I probably won't, though, because some itches just feel too good not to scratch. But I'll try. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
the computer.